I've been playing video games for a long time now. That's evident by the various videos I've got here on this channel, as well as the fact that I was alive and playing the first Super Mario Bros. Roughly when it came out. Growing up, my brothers and I played a number of video games together that had multiplayer capabilities on the NES and SNES, as well as those we would sort of watch the other play through. Good examples of the former being the Super Mario games and the latter being entries for Final Fantasy. As we grew up, we sort of grew apart, no longer playing these games with one another. I personally played games like Super Smash Bros. And GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64 with some friends from high school, but nothing really too much beyond that. After high school, I started working at a retail store called Micro Center and met a plethora of individuals that worked there who, to this day, remain a core part of my life. To say they had an impact on my life for the better would be an understatement. One funny thing was the fact that we were all around the same age, literally within 2 years of one another. We often took the time to grab food or drinks after a long, tough shift at the store, then go back to my dad's house where I lived for video games and to hang out. Roughly around this time, the GameCube had also released, so a number of multiplayer games were part and parcel for the evening's activities. As this time moved on and we found better jobs, we never really lost touch and continued to get together to play video games and whatnot. As we continued to hang out through this time in our lives, video game systems like the GameCube, PS2, and original Xbox moved to the next generation's Wii, PS3, and Xbox 360. All while we were going through our 20s. I wanted to take some time to not only recognize a number of these games we all played together during this time period, but also kind of make a brief commentary on how social we seem to be in that age range. The friends I had in my 20s were those that I found to be my support system through thick and thin. Maybe this is because we've launched out of our familial surroundings and into the world, finding our place in said world and actually being around people who sort of match our own vibes. As we moved into our 30s, we did tend to grow apart as we grew our own individual families. But we all have a sort of fondness for the time in our 20s where our friends became our family in a way. And again, nothing brings families closer together than racing, bowling with, or beating the crap out of one another by proxy through Mario Kart, Wii Sports, and Smash Bros. Respectively. Many other games were around that did allow online gameplay, such as World of Warcraft, but there's really something to be said about that in-person presence that comes with laughing and competing with and against one another. Join me as I take a trip down memory lane as I discuss a number of social video games we played in the aughts whenever we hung out. I'll go through 5 game series in total, in order from least to most played with my friend group. Hopefully this will jostle some memories of your time during this time period, or even of the games that you played in your 20s. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance and Mortal Kombat, the ninth one. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance was the 5th entry in the overall series of bloody fighting games released by Midway Games for the PS2, original Xbox, and GameCube. Mortal Kombat, again, the 9th one, was released on the PS3 and Xbox 360. Deadly Alliance was a decent fighter and a good return to form from the meh-like Mortal Kombat 4, and also was the first time in the series that it was not released in the arcades. It kept the overall 3D gameplay from Mortal Kombat 4, but added a total of 3 different fighting styles for all the selectable characters. The 9th Mortal Kombat, though, went back to standard 2D fighting, was a reboot of the series, and featured such things as X-ray attacks, which inflicted big damage and bigger pain. Both entries allowed for fantastic multiplayer fights between just 2 fighters, but what made these so good is the Mortal Kombat pedigree itself. Yeah, there have been a few lackluster titles like Mortal Kombat vs. DC, but from what I've seen and played, a great majority of these fighters are excellent. And of course, we're not talking about any of the not so well-to-do spin-offs. But besides playing Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance at one of our female friends' houses with our Micro Center crew, I think my favorite memory would be talking about this game at work there, much to the confusion of older individuals we worked with. One such person thought Mortal Kombat was a euphemism we were throwing around at work for more adult activities we were all participating in together. Wii Sports. I can't imagine anyone alive during the aughts not knowing what Wii Sports is or was. It of course was the pack-in title with the Nintendo Wii, featuring 5 different sports to be played with the gimmicky and motion-controlled system. Because of these games, and probably Wii bowling especially, it wasn't uncommon to find Wii consoles in unexpected places, like Grandma's house. One hurdle we had to leap to achieve good multiplayer with Wii Sports was the Wiimotes themselves, or lack thereof. The more Wiimotes we had, the better we could play games that 2 or more people at once, like tennis or boxing, could do. Now the nice thing with bowling and golf was that we just needed one Wiimote that could be passed around whenever a person's Mii's turn came up. Once we got enough Wiimotes for the up to 4 people to play, we often found ourselves burning through AA batteries very quickly. And I've got countless great memories of playing these games with my friends, but especially Wii bowling. My favorite memory was bowling 2 300s in a row, then bowling a 248 for the third game. My best buddy, Mobster, is an actual bowler, like, the real thing. I'd love giving him a hard time about the fact that I was the first person in our friend group to get a 300, real or not. We'd laugh because I've got the hand-eye coordination of a flopping fish in a paper bag, incapable of a strike on a real-life bowling lane, even with both bumpers on. The Halo series, specifically Halos 1 through 3 and Halo Reach. The statement that Halo revolutionized first-person shooters is one that has been so overstated it's almost laughable. Halo is one of the biggest reasons of why Microsoft's Xbox console got placed on the map, not just because of this series' gameplay, but also for having the console hardware and internet infrastructure to back it all up. What was so enticing with the Halo series, at least these entries made by the company Bungie before 343 Studios took over, was that multiple Xbox consoles could be linked together locally via Ethernet cable for couch and TV-led LAN parties. My buddy Mobster won his original Xbox in a raffle, essentially paying $10 for his console about a year after the thing premiered. Because we lived together pretty much throughout both of our 20s, Halo nights were often a thing for us. Simbu would join us as well, bringing both his 23-inch CRTV, Xbox, copies of Halo, and multiple controllers, thus allowing for 8 of us to play at once. Not only did Mobster and Simbu pick up Xbox 360s for Halo 3, our buddy Bill, as well as myself, also got this console. I then picked up a larger TV for our living room, and thus we had 2 TVs there permanently. Bill and Simbu would bring their consoles for our Halo nights, allowing up to 16 of us playing at once. While we could have 16 people playing, I don't think we ever got that many of our friends over at one time to play, and one large reason is that our female friends honestly just weren't really into this series. But my best memory probably is the composite of all of the Halo nights that we had during this time, although the night that we did scrape together 12 people was pretty epic. And while you've been watching footage of me playing Halo Master Chief Collection quite terribly, rest assured back then I played okay. I'd be happy getting 2nd or 3rd place. First place victories often occurred between Mobster and Simbu. Super Smash Bros. Melee and Super Smash Bros. Brawl. These entries were both released in the aughts, Melee in 2001 for the GameCube and Brawl in 2008 for the Wii. You ever have that argument of who would win in a fight between Super Mario and a random anime swordsman? With the Smash Bros. Series, we get the answer to this theoretical question, not but for the deepest video game fanboys. The guts of this literal genre-defining series of games for the platform fighter make this a superb multiplayer and party game. Items can be turned on and off to add additional randomized skill elements, along with picking or removing randomly selected levels that have their own environmental hazards. The simplicity of this fighter belies a much deeper skill level to master, as any Melee aficionado can tell you. Still, nothing beats beating up Pikachu with Link's Master Sword and releasing a lot of aggression on friends and family at the same time. And while the 7-year gap between both games was painful, my friends and I played Melee quite extensively throughout the aughts. Where Mobster and Simbu excelled at Halo, I did so with Smash Bros. In our overall friend group. I have a high amount of love for the conglomerated memories of the many Smash Bros. Nights I had at my dad's house when I still lived there, and at Mobster's in my place when we moved out in our early 20s. I also took a lot of pride that while Mobster often had a difficult time beating me, he learned quite well from playing against me to be undefeatable against anyone else in our friend group. Our friends would roll their eyes, and still do, when large 4-player battles back then, and on 8-player matches in Ultimate today, also result in just Mobster and I fighting to the finish in our 5 live no items stock matches. Rock Band, numbers 1 through 3. I'll preface this last entry with the recommendation that you check out our podcast, the Inferno Cast, now available here on YouTube, but also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and the like. We discussed our various experiences and memories there on our 7th episode. While I started with Guitar Hero 1 and 2 by myself when the first entry came out in 2005, it was really Rock Band that allowed up to 4 players or more to play at once. These games essentially put the player in a band playing bass, guitar, the drums, or vocals. The former 3 pieces were done using various sets of plastic hardware, the latter with a USB microphone, and they timed playing each respective instrument to notes on the screen or wavelength and octave for vocals. And we'd often have Rock Band nights with our various groups of friends, and often having the game available for play at our parties so people could enjoy playing the game or watching others do so. Not only did the game allow a person to operate each of the instruments, thus allowing 4 people to play, the music itself covered a wide swath of genres. Metal, classic rock, prog, alternative, stump music, country, and more were available not just in the base games, which were mostly exportable to future entries up to the 3rd game, but also in over 2,000 songs available as DLC. I'd always be amazed to see those who didn't normally play video games in our social circles join in on the fun and play Rock Band with us. And that, I suppose, was the beauty of games like this and Wii Sports in the aughts. My favorite memories were being able to complete the endless set lists of these entries, especially with Rock Band 2. I was really proud to have cleared these on my own on expert guitar and expert vocals to get my platinum icons for these instruments, which appeared whenever I played either instrument using my player character. Each run took 6 hours and 30 minutes, though I made sure to pause the game for breaks. On one epic run, though, Simbu, my ex, and I did a endless set list from beginning to end without pausing the game or failing, which allowed us to earn the Bladder of Steel trophy, and from there, getting every other trophy was just easy peasy. So these were 5 of the games that I played the most at Hangouts with friends in the aughts and in my 20s. I clocked hundreds upon hundreds of hours with these games, with more time being spent on games that appeared as the list went on. And because of how much time I spent, I often feel these generations of games were ones I probably explored the least for one-player experiences. Because of that, I have often gone back to many games of this generation to have played them for the first time the last few years, especially during the time that shall not be named. I still wouldn't have it any other way, though. The times I had playing these social games I do look back upon quite fondly. It was wonderful playing them with friends that are into video games, as well as others that perhaps wouldn't have played them if it wasn't so well suited for beginners. Now, I'm really curious to hear if you've had similar experiences to mine, either with these games, a time in your life like your 20s or even your teen years, or if you're like me and had both. Let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to have a conversation with you all on this. And even if you haven't gamed in person like I did, as was the focus of this video, I still would love to hear it. I'm genuinely curious and would love to hear everybody's feedback. And also, of course, please like or dislike the video and subscribe, as well as ring that bell for notifications to get more content like this. Thanks for watching and have a great day.